So I'm still thinking about Sinners. And another thing that I want to talk about that I don't feel like I've seen somebody else mention yet is how important it is to not only the story, but to the characters that Stack was the one who was turned into a vampire first and not Smoke. Um, because if roles were reversed, if Smoke had been the one to be turned first, I truly think Stack would have allowed himself to be turned as well. I think just within like their dynamics, Stack is a little bit more dependent on Smoke. Just like Smoke has the older brother, the protector, the father figure type-esque energy out of the two. Especially like when Stack is talking to Sammy and he's telling him how their dad used to beat on them and he hit Stack so hard that he lost consciousness, and when he woke up, Smoke had already taken care of their dad. And so like I truly think that like at the end of the day, Stack's always gonna follow his brother. I mean, they're always gonna follow each other, but I do think Stack is a little bit more dependent on Smoke, in that like if Smoke had turned, then Stack would have immediately. Like he probably wouldn't have even thought about it as much. And so I think that's important to the story of like just the whole rest of that evening would have gone completely different had Smoke been the one to turn first. And yeah, because I mean, even then, like, Smoke had the option to, turn after Annie died, but he took off his mojo and made the decision he wanted to die and he wanted to move on with his girl and his baby. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just think that's something also to look at. That was very interesting. And I just think that, like, Stack is more, like, charismatic and fun and go with the flow, that, like, he would have easily followed his brother's lead and been like, well, guess we'll find out. Like, he wouldn't have, like, really thought too deeply into it of what the repercussions would have been. And yeah, I just think character-wise it had to be Stack who was turned first. Because if it was Smoke, we would end up with both twins as vampires. Yeah. But it would be interesting to see how that story would have played out if Smoke had turned first, because Smoke was the one who obviously put the dagger through the stake through Annie's heart. So like, if he wouldn't do it because he's a vampire, and Stack's not gonna do it because he's gonna turn to a vampire and want her to be a vampire too, how would Annie have navigated that? I guess wondering how her storyline would have ended. Mary would have still been a vampire because she was gonna follow behind Stack no matter what. And then yeah, I wonder if Sammy would have been left alone because Smoke, in his clear mind, made it clear that like Sammy needed to move on with his life and like he wanted him to get out of their world multiple times throughout the film. So I wonder if becoming a vampire would have made him more like Stack in that sense of wanting to pull him in. And I wonder if Sammy would have become a vampire too. It's almost like Smoke literally is the catalyst of like the whole group becoming vampires versus just Stack and Mary. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think.